Good afternoon, everyone. I am Emma Toops, the Executive Chair for American Warriors and the facilitator for the Purple Connection. This event is hosted by Toops Consulting, LLC. David and I are connectors, coaches, and consultants in Toops Consulting, and we thank you for being here. Welcome especially to those where this is your first Purple Connection. For our new attendees, thank the person who invited you because they felt you might benefit from attending and contributing by being part of this community. And for those who are regulars, it's good to see you again. What was that? All right, next slide for the agenda. I will do a quick introduction to all of you for what is American Warriors and the Purple Connection, which will then be followed by educational networking program, which is comprised by our three organizational representatives, a veteran entrepreneur, a community organization, and a military-friendly company. That will be followed by a Q&A with the panel and the people on the call. I will follow that with some transition tips, then some ways to get involved through American Warriors and some future events, and then give you a preview for next month's lineup and wrap up the event. All right, so an introduction to American Warriors and the Purple Connection. American Warriors is a special interest group of the ACA Business Club, which is a private club with the philosophy that business flows out of relationships. People do business with those that they know, like, and trust. Thus, members are committed to creating solid connections by learning and practicing the fundamentals of strategic networking and relationship building. American Warriors are club members who have affinity with or support those who have served our country in military or public service. The mission statement for American Warriors is that we provide educational and networking opportunities for patriotic citizens who are leaders in business, and we support the transition into private and public sector business of active duty service members and first responders. The Purple Connection is one vehicle that the American Warriors fulfills its mission. So the challenges of transitioning from the military is a very well-researched problem. It's evident by the multitude of organizations, nonprofit and otherwise, that provide services to address them. Driving Community Impact was a white paper published in April of 2015 by the Syracuse University Institute for Veterans and Military Families. They determined after years of research and thousands of surveys that the leading gap in service was not that there weren't enough of them and that there was a lack of support, but it was the lack of connectedness of the service and support. Very often, transitioning military feel a loss of purpose. They may feel isolated or misunderstood, or they may feel overwhelmed for their need of help, but are disconnected or lack affinity to the people and culture of their new environment. So how do you solve it? You create a partnership of stakeholders who have a common goal for supporting American Warriors. The Purple Connection is a community of partnered stakeholders with a common focus of service, support, and care so that we can effectively address the challenges of transition. So what's with the name? Okay. With the name, the color for joint in military jargon or government jargon is purple. When our military is serving overseas on a deployment, that environment is comprised by a seemingly disparate multitude of organizations with differing purposes, but they have a common reason for being there through the operation. And that operation unites and focuses their effort. TPC is an attempt to replicate this type of joint environment to support the American Warrior in transition. Another reason is that when you combine the colors of red and blue, you get purple. In TPC, we're facilitating, hold on, somebody's got a mic open. We're facilitating the connection of individuals who identify more closely to either the military community or the military support community and business community. And when they come together, It's a purple connection. Here are the vision and mission of the Purple Connection. We create awareness to enable access and then empower action through collaboration and encouragement to expedite reintegration, support growth and healing, and enable opportunities. We do this by regularly bringing together community experts and facilitating connections through educational networking. Here is the rules of engagement for our panel program and networking. Each participant will have 8 minutes to deliver their remarks. I will be using a timer. All right. The time can be stopped short and given back for Q&A specific to the presenter or used up entirely by the panelists. However, when the time does go off, please wrap up and we'll move on to the next presenter. Once each presenter has spoken, there'll be 15 minutes of Q&A with the community. If you're uncomfortable with public speaking or want to remain anonymous with your question, you can put your question in either the private or public chat channel and I will ask it for you. Questions are not limited to the topic of the day, which is personal presentation, but take advantage of our expertise of our panelists and ask them some questions. Please be succinct in your questions and direct them to the specific panelist it applies to or to the community if it is a more general transition question. If you have a complicated question, you may ask it to discover if there's a subject matter expert on the call and in the audience, but if a response would take longer than 2 minutes to address it, I'll recommend that you follow up after the event. After the Q&A period, I will provide transition tips, which is an educational segment for paradigm or process shifts or a recommendation to resources that apply to the topic of the day, which is personal presentation. After the presentations, if you have not already, share in the public chat channel your point of contact information and how you need support from the community or how you can serve. The chat will be saved and all attendees will get a cleaned up copy in a future email so you can follow up with each other as you like. I will do event announcements and then wrap up the event. All right, so our first presenter is our veteran entrepreneur. Where'd the slide go? There it is. Okay. Gavin Pringle is a Navy veteran. He is the CEO of Jakapa. It's a company that offers an assessment and training system that supports soft skills development. He'll share a bit of his story to becoming an entrepreneur and then tell us about his business. Gavin, you
awesome. Cool. Thanks, Emma, for having me. So I'll tell you my founder story and then we'll jump into what Jakapa does. But I graduated from my third high school. I was actually kicked out of 2 of them. And I was a college dropout, right? So what I heard all the time was, Gavin, you're so smart. If only you knew how to focus and get disciplined, you could achieve so much, right? But you don't have these skills. So when I dropped out of college, I was in engineering school and I said, this isn't for me. And I joined the Navy. And while I was there, as I'm sure a lot of you realize, you get really focused and very disciplined and organized, and you learn how to lead teams. And that was critical for my development. And so when I got out, I went back and I finished my degree. And while I was there, we were doing all these group projects and stuff. I was like, why don't these people know how to work in teams? Why don't they know how to communicate? Why don't they know how to deal with flexible deadlines? What is going on? Because these are the skills that really matter in your job. It's not, how to actually do the work. We can train you on that, but how to interact with a team or how to engage with a team is so critical for being an effective employee or manager or owner. And so I ran down the rabbit hole and I realized, this is the #1 reason why people get fired. It's a top reason why people quit their jobs. It's your soft skills or your manager's soft skills directly impact your life in a very powerful way. I don't care what job you are in, it will impact your life. And so we don't talk about these things. So what Jakapa does is we shine the light on that. We measure, we train, and we track soft skills. We help individuals build profiles around how they're doing in these skills, and we get as many perspectives as frequently as we possibly can to allow that individual to know how they're doing, right? Because my goal is for you to be able to self-advocate when you're applying for a job or you're requesting you go to your manager and you request a promotion or a raise or whatever it is. You need to know what your strengths, your weaknesses, and your growth over time is at any given time so that you can defend that ask. And so that's why I founded Jakapa. That's what we do. We're a software solution. We help individuals like yourselves, or we help businesses with improving their employee engagement, improving their ability to communicate these skills and self-advocate. And with that, we're able to show increased employee engagement and decreased turnover. That's really our goal. And I'll drop it at that and see if anybody has any questions later. So I cede my time.
Okay, well, you have almost 5 minutes of dedicated time. I actually have a question specific to
Sure.
you. What is the background of the name? Where does that come from?
Yeah, so I was I did submarines in Guam. So while I was there, we would go to New Zealand, and Jakapa means go team or yes team in Maori. It's a beautiful, beautiful country. So decided to give a little shout out back to that.
Nice.
But just actually, I wanted to ask something of the audience and just nod of heads. When I say soft skills, do you guys know what I'm talking about? Okay, cool. So yeah, we're talking about all of your self-management, your time, your task, your goal regulation, your detail orientation, the things that make you capable of you doing your job. We're also talking about your ability to work in teams and communicate with other people and stress regulate. So these they're everything that does not have to do with the actual work in your job. It's all the encompassing other things. So my company, we measure self-management, we measure innovative skills like, idea processing, cultural competence, abstract thinking, those sort of things. We also measure emotional resilience. So your ability to deal with stress or anger or impulse control, those sort of skills. And then finally, the social engagement and the collaborative skills as well. So that's specifically what I'm talking about when I say soft skills. And when you're going in, if you are a business owner, if you're thinking about owning a business in the future, this accounts for about $30,000 in expenses for every employee every year. Right. So the average employee wastes about 17 hours of their work week asking about their priorities or asking for previous instructions. Right. So it's all clarifying all the previous stuff that you had already talked about. 17 hours of each employee's work week is spent just clarifying that, which is an incredible lost opportunity. And just think in your daily life how many times that's happened of like, can you tell me the specs? Can you tell me the priorities? Can you tell me what I was supposed to be doing? And that's a perfect example of like not communicating effectively, or not listening effectively, or not being able to provide adequate decision-making processes. So yeah, and I will cede my time again.
Okay. Well, Eduard, do you have a question as far as something that can be answered in 2 minutes?
I do. Congratulations, Gavin. This sounds exciting, man. Do you have clients currently already in where?
Yeah, so
engaged?
Absolutely. We have about 6,000 users. We represent everyone from school districts doing work with students and professional development, to fast food restaurants, and then we have Allstate Insurance as a client as well. So
awesome.
everybody needs soft skills. They're not, an industry specific thing, but we are rapidly scaling. So
that is a developing field. I call it humanities. I sense sooner or later we're going to have a name for it, but I think you're in a very, very fertile space. Last question.
We do have a Q&A later, so.
Okay, good. Then I'll leave it for that.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Gavin. That was very informative. I'm sure that people will think of questions for the Q&A period. All right, we will move on to our next presenter. Okay, our next presenter is our community organization representative. Eduard Herman is the president of the Northern Nights Toastmasters Club. And this is an organization that helps people to be better public speakers. He'll inform us about what they offer in their programs. Eduard, you're up.
Thanks, Emma. For the sake of our conversation, everybody, I go by Eddie. So feel free to use that. I should have actually dropped that. My Eduard sounds a little formal. I was born and raised outside of the United States. I did serve in Uncle Sam's Navy as well, so I am a veteran also. I come to you as representing Toastmasters. Anybody ever hear of Toastmasters? Raise your hand. Nods. Beautiful. All right. Anybody attend the Toastmasters meeting? Excellent. Anybody still a Toastmaster? No. Look at that. Laura is. Excellent, Laura. What club do you belong with?
I'm with Blue Jacket, and I have a previously earned DTM.
Awesome sauce. I love it. Everything you are to the world is only as good as your ability to speak to it. Your value is your ability to represent it. Simple as that. Forbes tells us in an article recently published that 7 seconds is all you get to pretty much impress people that they should continue listening to you whenever you walk into a business meeting, whenever you walk into a situation that requires you to show value for who you are. In my opinion, when you're in person, you're talking with somebody, probably takes about 15 seconds for them to make up their mind. Yeah, I like to listen to them. They're entertaining. I might learn something. Or they might start tuning you out and looking for a reason to move on. Toastmasters has helped me with that. I'm here to talk a little bit about what it's done for me, what it can do for you. I've been a Toastmaster for 9 years. And within the context of Toastmasters, you practice your public speaking and leadership. It will help you build your speaking confidence by the virtue of the fact that you'll get rid of a lot of your crutch words. Your ideas will become more concise. Gavin, for example, you are always looking to make a point, and you want to get there the straightest way possible. Toastmasters is exactly a place that does that for me. It does that for everyone who comes and joins. Well, it'll sharpen your listening skills and observation skills. And that happens with time. It is a safe place to play and try new techniques. Now, here's the thing that we know. You need a place to practice all these things. And books, seminars, YouTube videos, one-on-one coaching do not do what Toastmasters does. Okay? I'll talk in a moment here about how a meeting does go down. But in essence, you cannot replicate the nervousness that comes with somebody shoving a mic in your face and say, go, tell me why I should listen to you. So you have a short time to do that in, and there's those emotions that come within all of us. It is 100% across the board, unless you have some very deranged psychopathic capabilities where you're disconnected. Most of us get nervous. I joined because my issue wasn't nervousness. My issue was actually incorrect. I'm an extrovert. My issue wasn't opening up my mouth to speak. My issue was being precise with my ideas, being concise, making sure that when I open my mouth, People are still interested. It's that point about being interested in that connection versus just being interested. And if you're an entertainer like me, you do well when the spotlight is just on you. But if you're looking to speak, if you're looking to present, I am an IT director for my company. I have to make constant presentations that draw people in and make a point. So the points that you're trying to make, whether you're speaking to your spouse, to your kids, to your family, to your community, to your people at work, or Gavin, you're looking to launch your own brand. Every one of these come into play. So how does Toastmaster work? We have clubs all over the world, not unlike church. The system is the same, but people will differ. So if you've gone to one club, if you're, for example, you go to Laura's club, chances are you probably also want to go to my club because we are different. The people are different there, but the system is very much the same. Meetings are highly structured. Ours is held twice a month. Some go 4 times, depending on what that looks. They have roles. They start on time, end on time, every time. The agenda is to the minute. They're always fun, always insightful, and always interactive. You come in there, you're in a gym, you're working out. You're not just going to be a fly on the wall. As a visitor, you can be, but once you jump in, look at Laura laughing. Once you jump in, you are in there to get your reps in, to get your thoughts across, and then get that very, very important feedback. So the meetings, the roles, they rotate. The leadership roles rotate. Leadership roles are critical. Believe it or not, when you speak, you are in a leadership role. This keeps the tone, the content, and the personality constantly fresh because you don't have the same people doing the same thing. The roles will always focus on various aspects of leadership: delivery, listening. So you have the role of Toastmaster. That's the MC of the meeting. You have the role of our counter. The our counter just sits there and counts who's using a crutch word at what point. At the end of each meeting, there's a feedback process. And all of these people who've been observing have not only been practicing their listening skills, but now you get the feedback of, here's what I heard. The grammarian, there's somebody who's watching the simple use of syntax, proper grammar. They're saying what you meant was, it's happening, which probably what we're trying to do is say is, it's happening, because you're speaking to an audience of this kind of capacity. So these are the kinds of things of how the club works. Our fees are $53 for every 6 months. If you do the calculation on that, that's less than a Starbucks cup of coffee a week. Less than 1 cup of coffee a week to practice Toastmasters. Some clubs have the fees rather can vary. But the big takeaway is feedback. Feedback is huge. It is instant. And it is constant. It happens with every single meeting. A little bit more about what to expect. So my club is located up in the Northland. You've heard Laura, she's got a club. There's roughly about 25 clubs. Some are closed, some are open. Look me up later what that means. Obviously, if you're not a Toastmaster, you'll be looking for an open club. Ours is a hybrid meeting, which means that we have both people online, so both people in the room as well as via Zoom. We have a wide demographic. We meet twice a month for 1.5 hours. Our club is located in Northland and Riverside. We regularly set mentors up to walk you through the process. So for me personally, I have my motivation for doing this. I want regular new blood. So I want you to get better. But as you come into the club, you offer me your perspective. I learn from you. Today's workforce works a little bit differently. So than some of you who have been in the military for 20 years. You get outside of that, if you're going to take on a leadership position, this is the primary place where you come in to fashion your ideas, but also to adjust your message. Because remember, today's workforce, they're not motivated by money. So the carrot or the stick mentality doesn't work as much. Now you have to show value for why they should take on this particular initiative. So the motivation approach to this generation is different than what we are accustomed to. So Toastmaster will also help you with that.
Okay.
That is my presentation on Toastmaster. Talk to me about, do I we have time for questions, Emma, or do we run those at the end?
We'll do that. We'll do that in the Q&A period. So time is up for you and we will move on. Thank you. That was great information for anybody who has never heard much about Toastmasters. That was a great intro. Follow up with him later. Okay. Next presenter is our military-friendly company. So Reginald Ferguson is the owner and fashion consultant for New York Fashion Geek. He is in New York. He recently started engaging within the military support community after meeting me at an ACA business club event. Reginald will share with us how he's military friendly with his work, events, and activities now.
Thank you, everybody. It's a really pleasure to be here. When Emma asked me to be a speaker, I was highly flattered. But I have one point of clarification, which Emma knows. Since I am the only person in the group that's on Eastern Standard Time, I'm an arrogant New Yorker. And I thought when I saw the time that it was based on Eastern Time, but it's based on Central Time. And unfortunately, I can't be two places at once, but I'm a member of the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. And as we speak, an event is occurring. So I very likely will not be available for Q&A, but as Emma knows, I would greatly appreciate if anyone has any questions, if they could put it in the chat, she'll save it for me and she'll attach it to emails and I'll gladly answer all questions. And again, I apologize for being a native New Yorker on Eastern Standard Time. New York Fashion Geek is a men's fashion consultancy in which we help the everyday man go from fashion confused to fashion confident. And our services run from closet inventory to personal shopping and everything in between. You can consider me a personal trainer for fashion. The genesis of this company really started from my family. As a child, my late grandparents and my late mother always stressed the importance of style and fashion. And none of them were in the garment district, which is the district here in New York City around 34th Street, if you've ever visited. But they just always stressed it. And as a young child, being highly impressionable and looking at those three individuals as my heroes, I took to that like a duck to water. In my grandparents' home, there was a mantra that was always uttered if you were there. Always keep up your appearance. Always keep up your appearance. I took that to heart. And that's why there's a page dedicated to my family on my website. So what does that apply to the group today? Well, in my opinion, I feel that clothing has currency. Eduard had mentioned something about the current generation of the workforce, which is obviously something that Gavin also can attest to. For me, demographically, I look at gentlemen from their early 20s to usually around 60. The one thing that I can say, which I think applies to the two previous gentlemen, is that even in the 21st century, presentation matters. And when Emma and I first started talking, she gave me a phrase that I'm going to use out of respect because I am not a veteran. And it's called the battle rattle. And what I learned to quickly understand is that I felt that my business had a great opportunity to help the military community who's deciding to go into corporate America. And I've been fortunate enough to actually use an example this evening, hopefully before my 8 minutes run up, of Adoni Batista. Adoni Batista is based out of Fort Drum, which is not too close from Manhattan or Brooklyn, where I live. But he's fortunate enough to be entering retirement, but more importantly, having an internship at Morgan Stanley in their corporate treasury department. I have been flattered to be able to literally equip Adoni in a way far different than any individuals here who are former military. I equipped him with the attire to succeed. And what does that mean? In a place like Morgan Stanley, that may mean wearing a shirt and tie at times. At Morgan Stanley, that may also mean being business casual. And what I've quickly learned is that in the military, when you really think about it, and again, I'm certainly not trying to be presumptuous in a room of veterans, that really, you don't have to think about your attire, even when it applies to the evening. So now I'm fortunate to have the opportunity to be a guide to maybe individuals who have been guided in other aspects or have led people to be guided. Because clothing, ladies and gentlemen, has currency. And my job is to make sure you cash in. Thank you very much.
All right. We have 3 more minutes in your time, Reginald. Does anybody have a question for Reginald before he has to depart for his other event?
I would love the 3 minutes to be Q&A for me.
Yes. Okay. Laura, you had your hand up? No? How do people
That was clapping. That's the reactions of clapping.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay. I'm not.
And I
used to
saw
that.
your DM, so certainly we can talk.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about how you're engaging in your community now that I've kind of introduced you to your very specific support to the community.
Sure. I mean, to be honest, it's a little bit overwhelming. Let me explain why. Because I'm a solopreneur. So I don't even have an assistant currently. So I had my first intern in the summer, and I'm about to have 2 interns starting in November. So, really thanks to you, Emma, I've been quickly acclimating to speaking with individuals either retired or pending retirement in the New York State community, not in the city community, because that doesn't apply for us, right? So it's been really a great opportunity through learning to know that there's so many arenas in which I can attempt to assist. But like I said, the fact that I haven't scaled yet in terms of my team, I have to be very deliberate in the approach. So with Adony, that was a great specific example of literally helping one individual. Now, to be honest, I'm hoping that he becomes a return client. But more importantly, I think it's an opportunity for me to also directly talk with Morgan Stanley and their program, which I'm drawing a blank on the name of their program, but I have it in my eye.
Yeah, the Hired Our Heroes. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah,
yes,
it's a fellowship program.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. So, because, again, having the conversation with you, Emma, at our business club, I just felt, as an individual whose favorite uncle served in the Army and through the GI Bill went to Columbia University and became a teacher. My Uncle Archie to me is a direct example of what the military does and can do. And that's why my heart leaped out to go, I want to help as many individuals so I can make sure that when they re-enter the greater world and the different world, that they're well equipped. Because again, clothing may not necessarily be an armament for my day-to-day, but I think it represents communication. And that's extremely important. And I want to make sure that every individual, if they become a client of mine, is well suited for that, no pun intended.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Ricky actually has his hand up, and we are going to be going into our Q&A right now. So why don't we go ahead? Ricky, is your question for Reginald?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
But if he's short on time, I
No.
understand.
I can answer the question. And then if there aren't any others, if there are others, I'll take them. If not, then I have to leave. But I'll gladly take your question. I'll answer it carefully.
Wonderful. Well, I'm driving, so any background humming, I ask for your forgiveness in advance. But I just wanted to, first of all, kind of applaud what it is that you do. I would say that service members are very aware of the importance of presentation. And it goes back to our training. And basic training where we have to have our beds without wrinkles in hospital corners, and we can't have any wrinkles on our dress blues and things of that variety. But the issue is a lot of times young service members, when they get out, they don't realize the importance of presentation outside of the military uniform. And I've seen it time and time again at job fairs and things of that variety, where individuals will come in and unfortunately not be presenting themselves as they were when they were in the service. So my question is, what are some of the things that you're doing with military community specifically to help encourage them to be presenting themselves professionally and setting them up for success for whatever that next step is after their transition out of the military?
Candidly, Ricky, it's literally been individual by individual. So that's why I aforementioned Adoni Batista. I'm not at the moment able to do anything, and that's more on me in terms of making presentations to scale. And certainly, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot by any stretch of the imagination, you know, the business doesn't just pertain to New York City. I have clients all throughout North America. So my point is kind of like what Emma and I are doing. If you feel there's an opportunity for us to collaborate, to really, you know, tackle a community, tackle a market, wherever it is in America, I'm game for that. The way I envision it, however, for me as a military-friendly business, there are a variety of ways that I've been presented to through Emma's connections that I can approach and do good. One is, you know, going to your point, going to, you know, job fairs in which military-friendly companies can attend. There's an opportunity for me to do one in November. Candidly, I don't think I have the resources to do it this year, but I'm primed to do it next year. Also, we have a community college here in New York City in Manhattan called BMCC, Borough of Manhattan Community College. There's a significant number of military individuals that are applying their education there. And I'm hoping that I can start working particularly with their placement department in order to, you know, I think, I can't speak for you, to attempt to do something at a greater scale. But right now I have to just start individual by individual.
Well,
All
keep
right.
fighting a good fight. I'm sure it'll all work out as they should.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. So we will officially get started in our Q&A period. For Reginald, thank you for staying. I know you have the other obligation. Thank you so much for staying and for your remarks. We learned a little bit about your work and look forward to seeing you engage with us in future events.
Yes, again, it was my pleasure. And again, I apologize that I have to run out of here like the Flash. But if there are any further questions, you know, please put them in the chat, or also I have my information there. You can email me. So
Perfect.
it really has been a pleasure. And
All right.
thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Okay. We will move on then to our Q&A period. We have 15 minutes that we're going to do the Q&A. And these questions can be specific to our experts on the panel, or just in general, as far as transition questions, whether you're on the business side of that transition line or you're coming out of the service. So let's see who's got questions. Who's got questions? All right, Joshua.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Emma, for putting this on. Already learning a lot here. Due to make my transition next year in November, so this is great. I had a question for Gavin. I guess at a high level, how do you interact with the Jakapa platform? I mean, is that through an application, or how does an individual go about like making the first step, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are releasing our business to consumer app as we speak. It is currently released. You can go download it. It is free to use because We don't have payments set up at this current moment, so you're in luck. Just go download it.
Perfect.
That will allow you right now. You'll be able to take a sample self-assessment. You'll be able to take our Build a Positive Brain Challenge. There's 4 more challenges coming out in the next 2 weeks for you to do as well. But that one is available to you. And then you'll also be able to request external assessments. So what that means is anyone in your network that you have an email address for, you can send an unlimited amount of requests for them to evaluate you, right? And so think about this kind of like a reference. You know, when you're going into a job interview, we get emails all the time from people of, hey, I just walked into a job interview with my Jakapa profile. I use this to self-advocate, you know, of walking people through my data. So the external assessments are a good way to make that happen. But yeah, feel free to download it. I think I added you on LinkedIn already. So if you have any issues, just let me know and I'd be more than happy to help you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sweet.
All right, Laura has her hand up.
Yeah, I have a question and a preface. I've been made aware that there are certain personality instruments that are not allowed in the hiring process because they have clinical implications. How does your assessment fall within that realm?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we are measuring skills. We are not measuring traits. We are not measuring personalities. We are not diagnosing anyone. We have a research partnership with the University of Illinois. It is a research-backed, validated, reliable instrument, but it is very simply looking at these 32 skills that we call soft skills. And so these are a good way, you know, it's just like on your resume. If you say that you're good at Microsoft Excel, how do you prove that? With this, it would be, hey, I have competency in communication or stress regulation or decision making, and I have 70 people that, you know, evaluated on me on these criteria. So
that was a follow-up question. Was it primarily self-reporting, or what was the construct for building out the difference between how a person sees themselves and how others in their different perspectives see that person?
My goal is to collect as many perspectives on each individual user as possible, whether that be the individual, the self, their peer group, their subordinates, their superiors. It doesn't matter to me. It all flows into a profile where we can see those differences. And then based on that profile that develops, you can enroll in our challenges and skill builders. So think about it kind of like a Fitbit, where it's a daily action in your real life that you do, and then you just come back to us and you report and you reflect on, did I do it? What did I learn, etc. So yeah.
Very good questions there, Laura. Other questions?
Yeah, I got a question for Gavin.
Okay.
Gavin, I like the idea. What's your overall plan? Are you guys going to keep this? You're going to sell? What I'm seeing is Facebook has a very similar mechanism in the component of being assessed by peers, being assessed by the general public. So I'm interested. I see its application. Where are you going with it?
Yeah. So one of our next build components is, you know, allowing the user to be as flexible with the data as possible. So I want you to be able to, with the push of a button, you publish your dashboard to LinkedIn, and it comes with a templated message about what you learned, and you know that is the dream, right? And so from a long-term plan, you know, there's the work days and the LinkedIns, and the, you know, they can definitely think about an acquisition down the road. You know, it's not the combination for me is when we're talking about skill development, as I'm sure all of you have experience, like this is not a knowledge transfer. As Eddie said in his speech, right? I don't care how many YouTube videos you watch about communication. that does not make you a good communicator. You need practice, reflection, and feedback. That's the basis for any skill that you're going to pick up. And so my platform is designed around how do I get you as much practice, reflection, and feedback as possible. And so, you know, with Toastmasters, which I have done before, and unfortunately my local chapter shut down, but I moved, so I'm thanks for showing up because you reminded me to go enroll in Toastmasters. You know, that's great. There's absolutely, it's a great experience, but it's not on your phone available 24 hours a day, right? My app, you can practice it 24 hours a day. And so when you go to Eddie's Toastmasters, you can start incorporating those things that you're learning during those sessions. And so I think there's a really powerful union that can happen. So
You got a good thing going, man. I'm excited to see where you take it. Do you have a URL you can share with us?
you can go to the App Store and just directly download it. It's Jakapa.
I like it. Cool.
And
Thank you.
it's an early version, so I think I added you all on LinkedIn. So if you find any bugs, yell at me. It's fine.
No, this is solid. The organization that I work for, it requires metrics that are beyond what is currently available in the market. So I'd be keen on getting it.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Awesome.
if you're thinking about a business specific application, I'd be more than happy to talk about, you know, getting that set up on an organizational basis.
All
We
right.
have some talking to discuss.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
for sure.
Oh yeah, follow up with each other after the event. All right, Joshua has another question.
I had a question for Eddie. Looked up a few Toastmasters groups in my area. I guess I was wanting to know what maybe you look for in selecting a group, or does that even matter? Just jump in where you can get in.
You certainly are you a church guy, Josh? Yes, no?
I guess in my younger days, not so much anymore.
Okay. And I use that often because I think it's something that people can relate to. But in essence, you do want to try things out for yourself. There are people who move at a certain pace. There are people who burn at a certain temperature. And I'm, you know, for me personally, the reason why I am president of my club is because I wanted to build a culture. I wanted to build a bunch of people who are moving at an intense pace because I'm out here to get better. Some clubs just do well with saying, hey, you know what, this is us. This is great. Would you like to be part of us? We like to get together every so often, see each other, and maybe pick up a few skills here and there. It's a matter of what you want to work for you. Thanks for the question.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, so that actually is interesting because earlier today, my business development team at the club was talking about masterminds and groups that have kind of intentional purpose for the participants. So this question is for you, Eddie. What are the common things? Because you said there's a system that the entire International Toastmasters organization is going to have as an expectation for anybody anywhere. And all of us in the business club and in any type of association can relate to this kind of a expectation, but it is geographic. It is based on people who are running the organizations at the local level. What are some of those expectations that you can find anywhere because it's a Toastmasters club?
The expectations are that you're going to contribute, you're going to collaborate, you're going to participate at your own pace, with your own material. When you come in, you have your own agenda, but in the process of delivering that, you have skills that you're wanting to polish. So each Toastmaster, by and large, comes in and works as hard or as little as they want to. This is very much like a gym. You get out of it what you put into it. But make no mistake about it, all of our club officers have roles, and it's specific. This is what your responsibilities are. Each of the regular meetings that happen, and the meetings are the golden goose, they have roles, and those roles are specific. When you're the counter grammarian, you're supposed to get up at the beginning of the meeting, discuss what your role is, how you're going to do it. When the meeting is done, you're going to give a report on what it is that you've observed. So those are commonalities across all Toastmasters clubs. Anywhere you walk in, they will have a Toastmaster. They will have a timer, somebody who keeps time, regularly helping you track time.
All right. Laura, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I would like to add my personal introduction to the club. They started clubs at my place of work, so it was very convenient for me to attend. I didn't have a lot of travel time. But a key thing that the leader at the district level, Lieutenant Governor Education, said when he came and spoke to our club is that only 10% of people who ever, at the time, it was in the early 2000s, only 10% of people who ever join a Toastmasters club even complete their first 10 speeches. And that was very striking to me. And then, of course, being who I am, I was like, well, I'm going to be one of that 10%. But, it's the opportunity to be given challenges and to rise to the challenge and get that feedback where you're always improving.
Emma, let me add a simple thing. It is daunting to get up in front of people, to give a speech, and then say, tell me how I did. Most of us can half-ass our way through a speech, if you pardon my French. We'll sit there and we'll grunt and weep and moan and whatever else and we'll get it done and just run away. But to sit there and to say, tell me what you heard, come back the next time. That is a discipline that most people, and I understand it. Often people walk in, they say, this is great. This is an awesome concept. I can't.
Oh, because they don't want the feedback. They don't want to get the criticism. They just want the praise.
And it's never a criticism. That's it. I'm in a position, I have people who report to me. I have constant feedback that I got to give. This is a skill set that is constantly polished with Toastmaster. I'm telling you this, there's a gap in between us. Instead of saying, hey, you got to get your thing together, I simply say, hey, I'd like for you to get to this level right now. This is what I'm getting. I need you to be here. That is a skill set that Gavin in his app is going to probably incorporate, which is the ability to move people forward.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Gavin, you had your hand up.
Yeah, from the psychological research, so not to get too nerdy on you guys, but say the word advice instead of feedback. When you say, please give me advice, you're giving people permission to be both positive and negative. When you're giving feedback, a lot of people are afraid to give negative feedback. So just a little trick of the trade, always ask for advice, because you're freeing the person up to be honest and truthful and negative if they need to be. So just my 2 cents.
Very good. That's great. Laura, we got time for probably one more question.
Okay. And just to reflect on the whole feedback loop that we were talking about is actually they call it an evaluation, which maybe there's an opportunity to retweak the wording. But that was one of my actual strengths when I was participating, that I competed, and my evaluating other people speaking was one of my great strengths. And we always come from the perspective of encourage first, because the most important thing is that they're willing to get back up again and try again to keep building their skills.
All right, very good. All right, we are running just a little bit long, but that's okay because we afforded some Q&A for Reginald before he left. So let's go ahead and move on to the next part of the agenda, which is the transition tips. All right, so the transition tips part of the program here is not for me to talk about my business. Okay, Toops Consulting is focused on supporting students and adults in life, school, career, and business transitions. However, in this segment of the program, I am not going to talk about the business, but provide transition tips pertaining to the topic of the day, which is personal presentation. So what I'm going to do is provide some insights and perspectives regarding some paradigm shifts pertaining to personal presentation. So transition tips. What is personal presentation? You've heard from our presenters today kind of several elements of what it is. We're talking about soft skills. We're talking about verbal and nonverbal communication. We're talking about fashion and appearance. But the paradigm shift I'd like you to make from today's transition tips is to expand your ideas for what is personal presentation, because what this slide shows is in cooperation with other elements, these equate to your professional presence. So what do I mean by this? We've had several people mention it, how you're perceived or understood by people who don't already know you, or your reputation relies on how you show up to them and how they translate that perception in meaning or value. This translation of understanding you or misunderstanding you can occur in various vehicles. They can occur online, in person, on paper. So just to give you a little bit of perspective as far as the difference, the paradigm shift, what does personal presentation mean in the military community? Okay, so inherent in the military environment is a culture of structure and discipline for personal presentation that is explicitly described in regulations, systems and processes, and assessments. There's also a rank structure and organizational roles and functions that are commonly understood. Because of these common understandings for rank and organizational structure and roles and expected performance, someone can merely show up, right? And there is an immediate basic understanding of who that individual is, okay? Our uniforms represent some things that we don't have to say. We show up and there it is, okay? Our name, our military branch, our rank. Now, if you are in a dress uniform, you have even more information on there because you got your awards, right? So our personal appearance kind of speaks to a lot. So there's not some things that need to be said. Okay, our personal appearance for fashion and style is 90% accounted for if we're complying with the regulations and we're in an environment with other people who are military or are familiar with military culture. So what is then unique to individuals are physical attributes. Are they tall? Are they small? Are they, extroverted or not, right? Soft skills, their experience, their attitude, and their behaviors. Getting to work in a coordinated or efficient manner doesn't necessarily require getting to know someone very well past what is gained in an initial meeting to understand their experience, their talents, the objective, and expectations towards it. We don't even have to even know each other very well or like each other to be productive in our work. So the difference in a non-military community, there's literally a world of diversity for administration, behavior, and systems and processes that only very vague generalities can personal presentation be defined and have that definition apply to all organizations and environments. The rules are different. The culture and expectations are different. Our presenters today have provided remarks in merely 3 segments of what it might mean overall as far as your presence, your presentation, how someone shows up to others in their soft skills, their communication and appearance. It's only a fraction of what makes up that person's presence. This thing we call personal branding is a thing in the non-military community. But what is that in the military community? It boils down to being a composite of what people know, assume, understand, and perceive of you. It includes values and discipline, behavior and communication, your posture, your level of confidence, your ability to communicate and lead, and much more. So if you're showing up in an environment where people don't already know you, don't assume they know anything about you, because unless they know of you in advance and have done research on you, how could they? First impressions are made by how you show up, and they're the basis for comparison for anything they might observe of you later, which may or may not change their mind if the first impression was somehow flawed. Okay, so networking. Networking is hard. Sometimes you can get complacent in how you show up because you're distracted or you're just doing you, right? But people are watching and creating meaning based on their perceptions, whether you are paying attention or not. Intentionality is necessary so that you create the perceptions and understanding of what you want people to make, especially if you don't already have a brand, online presence, or other presence for them to know you. So be willing to be transparent with people, explain or ask questions when there are, opportunities to alleviate miscommunication, and be willing to learn and change your mind. The Purple Connection is a community of organizations and business professionals who want to and can help expedite gaining knowledge and access to resources and opportunities. So be cognizant of what kind of gaps you may have in your knowledge or behaviors and seek out the appropriate experts to help you. All right, very good. That's what I've got for transition tips. We will move on, and I apologize, this has gone a little bit long. All right, so bring the presentation slides back up. All right, thank you everybody for your participation in the program and in the questions. If you're interested in continuing to participate more intentionally in facilitating conversations on various transition topics, I invite you to consider becoming an American Warrior of the ACA Business Club. Becoming an American Warrior affords you with many benefits. You have access to any of the ACA Business Club facilities wherever we happen to have them, and we are in various metros now, and actually looking to have some overseas. You have access to over 20 interest groups where American Warriors is only one. You have business development teams that you can consider and join one of. And then you'll have access to all the different organized and sponsored events that the club organizes internally or with the community. And there is a directory for all members and all locations. There are opportunities for learning and networking every single week, virtual as well as in person, and leadership opportunities for those who are looking to do so at various levels of organization. The Purple Connection and Strengths Profile workshops are sponsored, organized, and facilitated by Toops Consulting. American Warriors are encouraged to attend and invite guests to these and participate as often as they like. I am the chair of American Warriors at the national level. Other engagement opportunities for American Warriors and their guests are a monthly discussion roundtable, which is on the first Thursday. There is a semi-annual in-person event that is a social and a guest speaker program. And then there are opportunities to step up to leadership at the club as well as national committees for American Warriors. Future events, next slide. Next week is the American Warriors discussion group. It's every fourth Thursday of the month from 2 to 3. It can be attended virtually via Zoom, but for those who are in the greater Kansas City metro and want to come to the Overland Park Club, it is a hybrid opportunity to engage. The topic of the day is business communications. Some subtopics to that are marketing, development, and accountability. The Intro to Strengths Profile workshop is now on demand. So if you are interested individually or represent an organization that may be interested in learning a little bit more as far as identifying strengths, learned behaviors, and weaknesses, contact me and we can get something arranged for a strengths profile workshop. And then this event, the Purple Connection, is the third Thursday every month from 4:30 to 5:30 on Zoom. Okay, so the TPC referrals is coming up in a few weeks. This is an opportunity to intentionally connect with me and up to 3 other members of the Purple Connection community on the morning of November 8th or 9th. Participants kind of participate in 2 rounds of time, where in the first round, they introduce themselves, the connection or support that they seek, and then ask for something specific. Those on the call then respond to the asks in the second round. Invitees are actively engaged in the support community, are growing their business, are an American warrior or in transition, and have a servant leader mindset. Email invitations will go out approximately 2 weeks before the session time, so you can sign up for what is convenient for you. Next slide. Next month, the program for the Purple Connection is niched networking. The veteran entrepreneur is going to be me. The community organization represented is going to be Bruce Thompson. He's the executive director of Talents Ascend. Military Friendly Company will be represented by Christine Burrows, who's the vice president of strategy and operations for Powered by Purple Inc. And instead of transition tips, I have a big announcement about new and exciting stuff that's going to be occurring for Toops Consulting and the Purple Connection coming up in 2023. So stay tuned for that. Contact me at my email address or LinkedIn profile for any information or anything you may have questions on with the program. Anything as far as future events or how to get involved. There's plenty to do. And wherever you want to fit in or need support, I'll get you connected. Feel free to request a free consultation if you need help in clarifying what steps to take to be more intentional in whatever resource pursuit you have. Thank you, everybody, for staying a little bit past time. I really appreciate you being here. I hope you got something out of it. Have a good evening. Follow up with each other, and we'll see you at a future event.